All right, guys, your preparation time is over, and yeah, we are live now. We are live streaming on YouTube. You had these 20 minutes to prepare for the finals and for the topic that it is necessary to separate the art from the artist. I hope you all have prepared well. Just stay calm, stay focused, and let us begin now. The first speaker is Rishit Malik.
Should I start?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Rishit Malik, and the motion for today's debate is that should we separate art from its artist? The idea of so first I will be speaking for the motion. The idea of separating art from the artist was one of the major critical tools of the new criticism of the earlier 20th century, and to do so, they created the idea that a work of art must stand on its own. I definitely believe that the art should be separated from its artists because every piece of art, dance, music, etc., must stand out on its own, and it should not be affected by the legacy or the popularity of the artist. People won't pay that much attention to a piece of art or a work created by a lesser known artist than they would by a piece of work created by a popular artist, even if the work was excellent. In layman language, we can say that the object should be tested first. It should be tested first, no matter who is the creator, and the object should be judged on the basis of its credibility and its content. The art should be separated from the artist because it's the only possible way about thinking of the art. Shunning art because of the behavior of the artist offends traditional assumptions about the value of art and the relationship between the artists and their works. So, this is one of the many reasons of separating art from its artist. Every piece of art ever created is another jewel adorned on the world and should be equally admired and respected. Now, I would be speaking against the motion. Leo Tolstoy once said that a real work of art destroys, in the consciousness of the receiver, the separation between himself and the artist. Separating the artist from his art is futile because the art one creates is a part of him. It's the expression of the artist. The artists pour their hearts into the masterpieces they create. So, separating art from an artist is like taking away something very dear to him. Also, no art can be truly separated from the artist because every single piece of art contains a piece of soul of the person who actually created it. So, art is very personal. So, musicians, visual artists, filmmakers, and other creators can never be separated from their creations. In addition to being a personal expression, art can also be a means of income. By supporting an artist's work, you are supporting the artist himself. So, I strongly believe that the work of art remains with the creator and his legacy throughout, and it should not be separated at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishit. We'll start with the next speaker in just a minute. We have a buffer time for 30 seconds. Okay, guys, so our next speaker is Harleen. Harleen, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, you can start.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Harleen Kaur, and today I'll be speaking in favor of the motion tabled before us. That is, that it is necessary to separate art from the artist. Now, before we come to our actual argumentation, let us first define some important terms in this debate. Now, what separating art from the artist means? Oftentimes, in issues of cancellation and cancel culture, we hear the phrase separate the art from the artist. This phrase is usually brought up when a popular celebrity or artist is accused of anything from saying something out of hand to even committing a crime. What people often mean by this phrase is that we do not have to collectively cancel the accused artist because there might not be enough evidence that they actually did something offensive, or because their own actions do not affect the way their art is experienced. Over many years, we have been able to forgive many artists for their trans, transgressions. As more predators have been unmasked, it can get difficult to separate the art from the artist, but it is an exercise worth doing. If for nothing else, at least for the art itself. Separating the artist from his art is futile because the art one creates is a part of him. It's the expression of the artist. If you want a great artist with a great life, look upon the resonances of the art. Art should be viewed individually on the basis of its characteristics and the qualities, and it should be separated from the artist. However, I believe that the motion can fall because, according to me, it is true that people should not be defined by their mistakes and are still individuals with valuable output in this world. After all, artists are people and people are flawed. Everyone has some or the other flaws. I have flaws, you have flaws, neither I am perfect nor you are. If we learn that Michelangelo was a bad person, would he demand his David to be taken down from public viewing? If if a movie actor has committed a crime, would you stop watching his movies? Salman Khan killed a deer, but we still watch his movies, right? Art is a personal expression of one's perspective of the world. A piece of art's relationship and meaning to its creator is exactly what makes it art. Because art is so personal, musicians, visual artists, filmmakers, and other artists cannot be separated from their creators. That's why I believe that art cannot be separated from the artist, and it's not even necessary to separate the art from the artist because art is a part of the artist and it has been created by the hard work of the artist. That's why I believe that this motion should fall. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harleen. We'll start with the third speaker in just about 30 seconds of buffer. Okay, you can start.
All right. Greetings, one and all present here. My name is Mehak, and the motion for today is that this House believes that it is necessary to separate the art from the artist. Caravaggio is known for his Baroque work and the incorporation of chiaroscuro more than the murder he committed. Picasso's many mistresses were treated shabbily by him, and he is still celebrated as the founder of the Cubist movement. Wagner was an anti-Semitic racist who found himself a huge fan in Hitler, so much so that the performance of his operas in Israel still faces protests. More recently, Dustin Hoffman, who along with Robert Redford inspired me to become a debater through All the President's Men, turned out to be not only a fine actor but a serial sexual predator himself. His actions were appalling, and 6 victims have come forward. On the one hand, there are these allegations, and on the other, there are his performances in The Kramer versus Kramer, Rain Man, and The Graduate. To an extent, we find ourselves unable to make this distinction not because of the art itself, but because of everything else that we know. While the consumption of art is an individual incident, the celebration or castigation of the creator is a social event. The way we consume art has a performative aspect to it, now more than ever, with the democratized nature of our communication. There is a rallying cry to make sure that an artist's name is forever associated with his actions. And unfortunately, this demand is extended to the art too, in an attempt at assuring the work is also forever tainted. But shouldn't art transcend the realm of human foibles, or should it be curtailed by those deeds? Should the fact that Lewis Carroll might have been a pedophile reduce the beloved stature that Alice in Wonderland has? Or as I learned while preparing this debate, does Isaac Asimov's alleged habit of groping women make the world he created it any less awe-inspiring? Well, I'd like to tell the proposition yes, it does make it less awe inspiring. You can't separate the art from the artist. Art, it's a personal view, a personal interpretation of how one sees the world. A piece of art's relationship and the meaning to its creator is what makes it art. Because art is so personal, musicians, visual artists, filmmakers, authors, they cannot be separated from their creations. Art is also the artist's livelihood. It's their income. You support the artist by paying for the art. Art is individually interpreted by the viewer, listener, or audience as well. When it comes down to art, it is personal. How many of us are Potterheads? We so dearly adore the magical world J.K. Rowling has created, fantasizing getting into Hogwarts. But now, what if I tell you J.K. Rowling is a radical feminist and a transphobe? Would you be able to feel the same way about your favorite book series when the author's tweet and statements literally disgust you? Of course, you won't be able to feel the same about Harry Potter the way you did. Because, as I said, art is an interpretation of the artist. The artist portrays their feelings of the world in the art they create. I wouldn't want to read such art by J.K. Rowling. Art does not exist in its own altruistic alternate universe. It's part of the artist, the world, and the patriarchy. Separating the art from the artist would be a perfectly sound critical school among many in an ideal world. But let me tell you, audience, that is not the world we live in. In modern pop culture, persona and identity so deeply intermingle with art that the artists themselves often becomes impossible to fully disentangle from their end art. Consider the films of Woody Allen. The protagonists of movies like Crimes and Misdemeanors, Annie Hall, and Manhattan, in all of their neuroticism and sexual dysfunction, are less characters and more proxies for the director himself, who plays all three. I'm sorry, but such art cannot be consumed by us. We cannot separate the art from the artist and should separate the what kind of art we consume, the good art or the bad art. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehak. We'll start with the fourth speaker in about 30 seconds. Okay, so our next speaker is Noor. Noor, are you ready?
Yeah,
Okay, you can start.
sure. Happiness lies in the joy of achievement and thrill of creative effort. Good morning, everyone. Today, I, Nurjan from Prudence School, will try to bring clarity on the topic. Is it necessary to separate the art from the artist? I'll start with for the motion, which is yes, art should be separated from an artist. Everyone has their own interpretation for the term art. I interpret art means an hobby, any liking or any effort, and by this topic, by the topic, I interpret that an artist should not always stay doing an art and try something new. We are always told by our parents that get out of your comfort zone and try something new, and not always stay in our comfort zone. Of course, it's not good for us. Actually, I'm told about this every day. Speaking to you is also something that I have been told by my parents, that stay out, like get out of your comfort zone. So let's start with an artist who draw, who paints. Basically, the supplies that an artist uses is very expensive, and it's very difficult to afford. Okay, even if an artist affords those supplies, but an artist does not get paid well. Like an example is that the training of an artist is very intense, be it a sport professional, be it a professional dancer or professional artist or anyone. They only they are not given much salary. And by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, which tracks data for nearly all civilian occupation, plays the median 2019 wage for dancers and choreographers are only and only $18.68 per hour. Like, isn't it just too less to work for an hour? And what do you think? A art piece requires so much time. Months and months artists gives their time just to make a art piece. Isn't it just too less money for so much hard work? The hard work they do is not at all equal to what they are paid. And in today's world, everyone works for being paid. Without money, this world can't work. You have to work hard every single day so that you can be in shape. A dancer, being a dancer, what it is all about, it is being in a good shape. The dancers are discriminated, then discrimination causes demotivation, and a person gets depressed. Instead of having all these troubles, why not to do something in which you can earn money and also stay happy? So, however, there are always two sides to a coin. So, be it any job, the person should be happy doing it. Any money doesn't matter. If you're happy and being an artist, you can express your creativity, be it through dance, art, pottery, act, or anything. My mother always tells me, money is a thing which goes one day, comes one day, but never stop being happy. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. It was said by one and only Walt Disney. We must have watched his movies. Now, as I talked in proposition about depression, a true artist never falls apart even after getting demotivated. The best part is of being an artist is seeing that what you have done has made someone happy. You must have gone to an art museum and see an art piece and be like, oh God, has the person created such an art piece? Like, the person gets so happy. And then endlessly, one more advantage of being any artist is endlessly being able to learn and grow by being an artist. You can learn anytime, anywhere. Seeing anyone, any landscape you can draw, or seeing anyone, any tap dance, any.
In about 30 seconds. Okay, so our next speaker is Ria. Ria, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Shall I start?
Yeah.
Good evening, my dear friends and respective judges. This house believes that it is necessary to separate the art from the artist. Art is received through a variety of mediums and the way we accept it. It has become a very nature of communication. Within a performance is encoded in acceptance that we like something that needs to be liked, because by itself that work of art needs or deserves celebrating. However, today with increased social media and an avenue to express an opinion on everything, are we being arm twisted by society into stigmatizing our own personal relationships with pieces of art? Are we giving into the pressure of the group think that decrees what piece of work we must dislike because its maker was not a stand-up human being? There's a rallying cry to make sure that an artist's name is forever associated with his actions. And unfortunately, this demand is extended to the art too, in an attempt at ensuring that the work is also forever tainted. While great roles or songs or paintings immortalize an artist, at the end of the day, we need to make a distinction between the human being and the art he or she has created or embodied. I may not be a fan of Salman Khan's personal life choices, but I love his movies. It is unfair to penalize the individual. As we saw in the huge protest in recent times of movies like Padmavat, every individual has the right to freedom of expression, and art is a way to express the same. However, there are always two sides of a coin. Art and artists influence generations and minds. Every character embodied on screen or put on canvas has a deep impact on every generation. This responsibility is heavy on the creators. For example, a movie like Tere Naam influenced a whole generation in their hairstyles, or a movie like Kabir Singh influenced many young minds on violence and unrelinquished love. Therefore, art and artists can never be separated in entirety. as what they bring to the table or embody on the screen is always seen as an extension of themselves. We must keep in mind that the art and the artist are a package deal. Frida Kahlo and Nina Simone are both artists whose culture and experiences as women deeply impacted their art. Hence, to separate the art from the artist would be an insult to the legacies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ria. We'll start with the last speaker in about 30 seconds. Okay, so our last speaker for the finals of Vox Populi Devil's Advocate is Arshia. Arshia, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you. Greetings to one and all. I'm Arsha Negi, and the motion suggested today is that this House believes that it is necessary to separate the art from the artist. Now, what does this motion mean? This basically means that we should only pay attention to the art, to the content made by a person, and not pay attention to the person who made it. Every day we come across various types of art. They're different in their own way. I like to explain this with an example. You're scrolling through reels, you find a random person dancing to a TikTok sound. You're fascinated by the dance and you end up learning it. You learn the dance in your content. That's it. I strongly believe we're being arm twisted by the society into stigmatizing a personal relationship with a piece of art. And I strongly believe that is completely unnecessary. Artists, they're of infinite talent and in some cases of unsavory personal lives. But why should any of that matter if they're giving the society what they really want? Why should any of that matter? What matters is what is created, not who did it or what their personal views or lives are like. We should be able to look beyond the artist's personal or sometimes ludicrous words. We should only and only pay attention to what they're achieving. Now, let's suppose you made a cake. It doesn't turn out good. The person who's trying it will obviously criticize about how the cake is made, right? Regardless of how they feel about you. I realize looking past the personal side of an artist is never easy, but it isn't fair for a person to just but it isn't fair for a person's work to just be rejected because of the bad deeds they may have done. However, uh, this motion clearly doesn't stand as these facts stomp over the prior arguments made by the proposition. How true is this statement? An artist's work should have value on its own right, no matter what sort of life the artist must be living, even if they have damaged or hurt others. I'd like to explain this with an example. We all know Picasso, right? Picasso, he is one of the greatest artists. However, do we know he was a misogynistic person? He sexually assaulted many women. And do you know that he was never sent to jail for this? Why? Because we were too driven by the art that was created by him. There's something called cancel culture in today's world. And all the famous people today are being called out for the bad things that they've done. For example, Bryce Hall and Jaden Hossler. I'm sure you've heard of them. They had been sent to jail once for illegal drug use, but later they'd been released just because they were famous. Now, why don't we realize that we're falling for a trap? We're falling into a trap, and something to be needed to be done about this. Um, I we're learning about the harsh truth of a particular person, and why are we treating them differently just because they have created an art that is too creative or that is too good? As an alternative, I strongly believe we should look at the type of art that we're believing in. What we're paying attention to, we need to pay attention to that. We need to research about the artist we're following or we're inspired by. Now, the previous speaker said that it is unfair to penalize the individual. Ma'am, now if the individual wasn't an artist, would you still not penalize him or would you still not punish him? Why is it that just because he's creative or that the work he made was really good, we aren't giving him the same kind of punishment? Why is it that we're treating him differently just because what he's doing is good? Thank you and have a nice day. I would like to rest my case here.
Thank you so much, Arshia. So, Arshia was our last speaker for the day. We'll start with the feedbacks in about 30 seconds.
Okay, before we give our feedbacks, if any of the debaters have something to say to any other debater, you can go ahead. And if you don't, then we will probably give our feedback. Is there anyone who wants to say anything? I don't think any. Okay. So, first of all, it was an amazing debate, and I am so glad that all of you interpreted the topic in different ways and in right ways. And I loved the examples some of you used. They were pretty good. I just think that I have already stressed on this in all the debates that I have seen today and yesterday. But yes, I think in a debate there needs to be some sort of aggression or fury that some of you did lack. So we can work on that. And apart from that, I also think that in a turncoat debate, because your transition is so important, you have to make sure that it is visible and that you do not stutter while transitioning. So yeah, we can focus on that a bit. Other than that, all of you were really good. I love the voice modulation. I love the content, and let's hope for the best one to win.
Okay, guys, I personally also have some feedbacks to give. First of all, a very well written debate by each one of you. I really loved the way each one of you spoke, and the finals was excellent. Though I entirely agree with Ananya when she says that in a debate you need to show some sort of fury or some aggression that will obviously help you catch the eye of the adjudicator. Other than that, the voice modulation somehow I felt could have been improved. The content I think could have been you could have added more examples to the content because the same examples were being repeated again and again by some speakers. Other than that, you guys did well. Thank you, everybody.
Right. Another feedback, if I were to add something, I think although it's mainly covered, and yes, the finals were definitely great. I think the topic, what we gave, what we were expecting, definitely came out, and the different perspectives all of you had that really showed. I mean, we looked at certain things that we didn't think while discussing the topic or while making the topic, and that was great to see the certain examples you added. I think examples play such a huge role. The little bits of movies and books and talking about so much, I think that makes it much more clearer just stating facts. That helps a person understand what you're talking about. I think that's great what you did, so definitely continue to do that. I think over the last 2 days your transitions have definitely improved and you've done a good job with it. So it's great that you've become so opinionated. One thing that I would want you guys to work on is whatever side you're speaking on, just know that when you're coming into a debate, be open minded so you don't have your personal view interfering, because some of you spoke like a lot on proposition and less on opposition, right? So maybe that your personal opinions on proposition were more than what they were on opposition, right? So when you come into a debate, don't really think about anything, just keep your mind open so that you have both equal arguments to make, and utilizing your time properly is a huge thing. Yeah, I think that's about it. If anyone else, any of the other adjudicators would like to add anything.
Yep. First of all, a very good debate by all of you. It was excellent. And yeah, right. I agree with most of the points stated before my fellow adjudicators, but there are a couple more that I would like to state. Firstly, I would like to stress on the importance of rebuttals here. I could only see a few of you stating rebuttals, not all of you. I was expecting rebuttals from each and every one here, and even those who stated, I was expecting more. And same goes for the examples were stated, they were good, they were excellent, that enhanced your content, yes, but I was expecting more examples and some better examples could be different. Some of you repeated the examples that had been previously stated. So that's all from my side. Work on your rebuttals and the examples. The transitions have definitely improved, as has been stated earlier, and the content was good as well. So that's about it.
Would any of you guys want to add your feedback over the last 2 days? How was it? How was trying Turncoat for the first time? I'm sure it's very different from what you guys are used to. So, if any of you want to go ahead, feel free to unmute yourself. Right, none of you want to speak. That's completely all right, and we respect that definitely. So, with that, we come to an end of the finals for the Devil's Advocate Turncoat debate. And I hope you had educational 2 days, and we hope to see you soon, obviously in the closing ceremony, but also for our future rounds. And we hope the spectators definitely also learned something from your other fellow debaters. And we hope you can take something better from these 2 days. Yes. If no one wants to add anything, none of the adjudicators, I think we can end this meeting. And we can meet again for the closing ceremony in an hour's time. Any of the other adjudicators, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think that I would like to add something to my feedback if that's not a problem with everybody. So guys, what I observed was that you all were in a turncoat debate, though this was your first time in a turncoat debate, but the transitions could have been better since it was the finals. A lot of you just came and started by saying that I would like to start with proposition, and then when you were transitioning, you just said that now moving on to opposition. See, that's what a turncoat debate is about. It's about how you transition, and trying something different will surely help you fetch more marks. For example, I'm just giving a very random example. If I am to speak in support of the motion first, and then when I am transitioning myself to the opposition, I can simply say that when I was stating the points for the proposition, I was living in a bubble, and now that bubble has popped, and hence I would like to speak entirely against the motion. Um, Whenever you are debating, it's very necessary to know about the pros and cons of what you are trying to speak, and how you are trying to catch the eye of the adjudicator, because sometimes even if your content is good, but you are not adding something different to your content, then the adjudicator will just entirely lose interest in your debate. Other than that, you were good, guys. Well done. That's it from my side.
Right, so I think we're going to have to end this meeting, right, Ananya?
Yeah, so we'll see you at 7 in the closing ceremony, and you can join the other link at 7, and all the participants can leave this now. Thank you.
All the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you,
great day.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much. Have a
you.
great day.